Come on, let's go to work. That's it, Ellie. Shake it off. Let's go. Come on. Got to get to work. We got to sell those postcards. You ready, Lucy? Yeah? Okay. Ready, Ellie? Okay. Let's go in the office. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mark Clemens Postcards. Hope you had a good week. Hope you had a nice 4th of July and were able to take some time to relax and spend some time with your family and friends. But now it is time to take another look at the sales for the past week. So let's just jump right into that. As you can see here, my sales for the week were okay. We had a total of $509.01. That was from 100 sales. Now, I could point out that a few of my sales were multiple card lots, so that is attributing to that number. And the average sale price was $5.09. If we look over here at the sales chart, I'm going to make that a little bit larger for you. Bring it into focus more. I'm going to move myself out of the way here a little bit so you can see this better. So I'll fly up here in this corner. If we look across this sales bar chart, this is going back a month, but you can see my sales kind of look like a dysfunctional pipe organ. They are up and down and up and down. We've got highs and lows here, and it's just pretty erratic. I know other sellers have made the same comments that sales have been erratic recently in eBay, and that certainly bears itself out for me. You could see I had some pretty good days here. Here's a $189 day, and here we have $184, $190, and just yesterday looks like my best day over the past month. I came just 21 cents short of $200, but things have really been up and down. So all in all, it's still decent. I'd like to be doing a little better, but who wouldn't? But it's still decent, and not a whole lot I see that I could do about it at this point. So anyway, just wanted to point that out to you. Let's jump into what sold. First sale here is the new Iron Pier at Coney Island, New York. That's Coney Island, the amusement park. This card here was originally listed for $4.95. As you can see, it's been listed since March of 2021. I had an offer on this of $4, and I accepted that. Next up, we have Original Joe's Restaurant in San Francisco, California. That's a nice interior view. That's a chrome card. You can see it's postally unused. And I originally had 2 copies of that card, but I've sold them both now. That sold for $4.95. Next up is a military ship. This is the USS Nereus and the USS Sperry submarine tenders. I'm sorry, there's 2 ships there, and you can see them there at the dock there. Both military ships on that card. That is also a chrome card, postally unused, sold for $4.95. Next up, we have an interior of a ship. This is the lobby on the main deck of the great ship CNB, of the CNB line. It was a steam ship. This is a white border era card. It was postally used in 1919. And that's an interesting view of the style of architecture and decor we had back in the early part of the 1900s. That card sold for $5.95. Next up, we have seen at State College, Pennsylvania. Actually, this buyer bought two cards from State College. This first one is McIlwain and Simmons Halls at the college. It's a postally used chrome. That was, let's see, that was, looks like 1968 is the date on that one. And the second card was a view at the corner of the corner and South Allen Street in downtown State College. Again, this card is postally used. Looks like the same date. A little hard for me to see without a magnifying glass on that, but let's see if we can make that larger. That's 1958. Okay. And let's go back and look at that second one. That's still hard to tell. It could be 58 or 68. Either way, buyer bought two cards. Those were, one was $4.95 and one was $5.95. Next up, we have a lot of cards. I do sell $1 cards. I don't have a lot of them in my inventory, but I do sell some. They're just cards that I feel are too good to put in larger lots, but they're not really good enough to price higher. So I kind of put them out there for buyers who are looking for maybe good cards for resale, or collectors who are just looking for a good buy. In this particular case, one buyer purchased 10 of them, 10 different $1 cards. This is the first one, just to show you an example. 10 card sale for $10. Next, we have the Scenic Hawaiian Battleground in Hawaii. And I don't know anything about the battle that took place here, but obviously if you were from Hawaii, you might know that. Here's a horse-drawn wagon going up the path here. That card is it says private mailing card on the back, yet it is divided. So not really sure. I would just go with divided back on the era of that. And that card sold for $5.95. Here we have a foreign card. This is the 13th Regiment Fanteria of the Italian military. It has a nice attractive back, give you that same information there. It's unused, appears to be divided back era again, and that's a flag. I can't read any of this writing, but it's a pretty attractive card. It was originally listed in 2020. So it's been on there a couple years. Sold for $9.95. Next up, we have the Sportsman's Park in St. Louis, Missouri baseball stadium. It's a nice aerial view. This is a linen card. It was postally used in 1948. And baseball stadiums, pretty popular topic with collectors. Nice looking card for the price of $7.95. Next up, we have a ship. This is the Austrian Navy cruiser St. George. You can see it there. Also an Austrian flag up here. Pretty attractive looking card. It is unused. It is compliments of the Prudential Insurance Company, so it also would fall under the category of advertising. Nice looking white border era card that sold for $4.95. Here we have a lot. I've mentioned these before. I do sell cards in lots. This is a lot of 100 random mix. These could be state views, towns, topics, scenics, just greetings, could be a mixture of anything. I usually just take cards that are less than what I would want to list individually and put them in lots. This is a lot of 100 sold for $29.95. Here we have street scrubbers during the tulip time in Holland, Michigan. This is something that was done yearly. I don't know if they still do this. I'm going to assume that they still do that. Holland, Michigan is obviously famous for their tulips. This is a Chrome era card, postally used in 1964. Says down here at the bottom, it's tulip time in Holland every year in May. So let's hope that that tradition is keeping up to today. That card, was originally listed for $5.95. I believe I took an offer of $4.50 on that. Here we have the old passenger railroad station in Manchester, New Hampshire. This card is a divided back era card. I did send out some offers. I think I sent out about 300 offers this week. This was got a pretty good response on that. This was one of those. This card sold originally. It was listed for $7.95, and I believe it sold for $6.96. Next is a view on the Emory University campus in Atlanta, Georgia. Linen era card, postally unused, very nice clean card in excellent condition. That sold for $4.95. Next up, we have another linen card. This is a scene at Long Lake in Naples, Maine. You can see some boats here, some cars along the roadway or pier, maybe that is, I'm not sure. Postally unused, again a nice linen view, that sold for $5.95. Here we have the Penn Eben Hotel in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania. It's a multi-view card. You have a view of the hotel and then a couple interior views, the dining room and the lounge. This card was postally used in 1953, and it sold for $4.95. Next up, another lot of 100, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago. I believe this particular lot, I had some people contact me in advance, and they wanted a particular mixture of cards. I did say in the item description for this lot that I would entertain suggestions if somebody liked or wanted some particular states or towns or topics. I would try to accommodate them if I had the cards. In this case, these people are getting married next year, and they want to send these out, possibly as wedding invitations. I'm not sure, but they wanted cards predominantly from the southeast, like Florida. They mentioned Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. They also mentioned, I believe, Kentucky and Kansas. So I was able to come up with a lot of 100 that included just those states. And that sold, again, for $29.95 for 100 cards. Here we have a fold-out card. This is a sightseeing in Vinewood Park in Topeka, Kansas. It is postally used 1910, and you can see here on both upper corners there's some pretty significant surface loss up here. It almost looks like this card may have stuck to itself or something. I don't know, because the damage is very, very similar on both sides. It doesn't really affect the view itself, although it does detract from the card. It doesn't affect the view too much. And I debated whether I would even list this, but I thought, well, what the heck? Maybe this, this could be a hard to find view, or somebody who collects this area might still be interested, and they were. It sold for $4.95. Next, we have the beach at North Scituate in Massachusetts. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. Scituate. A beach scene. It is a white border card. It was postally used. I can't really make out the year of that, but it was postally used. This card was originally listed for $6.95. I think it was one of those I might have sent out an offer on, but I'm not sure. I think this sold again for about $6.75. Next, we have the Presbyterian Church in Crossroads, PA. This is a real photo card. This card came in a batch of cards I came across that wasn't identified. You can see it's unused here. It's a Azo stamp box showing it to be early 1900s. But I was able to do a little research and locate this church in Crossroads, Pennsylvania. And I think this might be the last. I had about 7 or 8 of these different views of this church, and this might be the last or next to last one. Sold for $7.95. Next up, we have the Travel Lodge in Palm Springs, California, as opposed to Palm Springs, Florida. Here we have a view of the pool. Lots of people sitting around the pool here. And there's some older cars here parked across on the parking lot. This is a Chrome Era card mailed in 1967. And that sold for $5.95. Next, we have the American House and Garden Restaurant in Long Beach, Long Island, New York. That is a white border era card. It's unused, as you can see. It's an attractive back there. Very nice condition. This card sold for $6.95. Next up, we have a view of Penn State College in Du Bois. Pennsylvania State College does have some satellite campuses throughout the state, one in Du Bois, and here you see a view from there. It is a linen card, unused, nice clean condition, sold for $5.95. Next up, this is an interesting card. It's a menu from United Airlines. It was postally used in 1949, but here you can see what is on the menu for your flight if you happen to be traveling on United Airlines. It says this menu prepared in United Airlines Flight Kitchen at Chicago. This card was originally listed for $5.95, and I took an offer of $4. Next, a military card. This is in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, at the Army Artillery and Missile Training Center. Chrome Era card, of course, postally used in 1967. And you can see here some helicopter pilots are being trained. Interesting card. Sold for $5.95. Next up, this is a scene in Nome, Alaska on Front Street. This card was one of a 17 card buy from one buyer. I'm not going to show you all 17 of those, obviously, but this was one of them. And this buyer purchased, as I said, 17 cards for a total of $86.20. Next, we have the Presbyterian Church in Barnesville, Ohio. This is an undivided back card. It was not postally used. You can see it does have a few creases here that are pretty visible. This card was listed for $8.95, and I believe it sold for, I took an offer of $6.95. Here is a view in Baird, Texas. This is the Callahan County Hospital. This card, although it has this white border around it, it's more of a Chrome era card. It's a silver craft made by Dexter, and although it has these white borders, you can tell that usually from the vehicles and things in the scene, it's much newer than that. So I would classify this as a Chrome era card, just to be on the safe side. This card sold for $5.95. And I think this is the last up. Although I sold over 100 items, I think I'm just going to, I'm showing you about 30 here. This card all came from another large lot that one buyer purchased. This buyer purchased 24 different cards. This was one of them. Again, the bulk of this lot was from $1 cards, especially greeting cards. A lot of greeting cards that I get aren't good enough to sell them individually, but they're nice enough that I don't want to put them in large lots. So I a lot of times will sell this for $1. So 23 of the 24 cards sold here were $1 card. This was the lone card that was more than $1. It was $4.95. So again, 24 cards sold to the same buyer. Their total sale was $27.95. Okay, I want to show you a few more cards from my personal collection. Up to now, I've shown you some cards of Greensburg, PA, which is my hometown, but now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and move to a different topic that I collect, which is the Lincoln Highway. Just for a little background information, the Lincoln Highway was first opened in 1913. It was one of the first transcontinental highways in America. It went from New York City to San Francisco, and it spanned a distance of 3,389 miles. Now, when the highway numbering system came into play, most of the Lincoln Highway was renamed as Route 30, and parts of that still exist today, and parts of that have been abandoned. And the highway has mostly been replaced by Interstate 80 as the main highway from New York City to San Francisco. But back in the day, it was a pretty cool highway, and there are lots of interesting scenes along the way. So I want to show you a few things from my collection on the Lincoln Highway. The first picture here today is the entrance to Idlewild Park. Idlewild Park is the oldest operating amusement park in Pennsylvania. It's about 15 miles from here, and this was the main entrance back in probably, it looks like the 1930s era. The entrance is different today, but this was it at the time. You can see the old vintage automobiles there as they're going into the park. This is and still is one of the favorite rides at Idlewild Park. It's the roller coaster. Also still in existence today and a popular attraction is the merry-go-round. Here is the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar was a ride that would go around in a circle in a sort of up and undulating track that would go up and down as you went around, and then a canopy would come up over you in the ride so you couldn't see anything, and that made the ride more exciting. I don't think the Caterpillar is still in operation, but I'm not positive about that. Haven't been to the park in a couple years. Next, we have the Penny Arcade, another popular spot to hang out. In here, you had games like pinball machines and skee ball and coin-operated machines where you could win prizes. And you would get tickets when you won, and then you could redeem those tickets for prizes. Here is a scene in Kittyland, and you can see some of the rides there designed for the younger people. Here is the swimming pool at Idlewild Park. This pool is still in existence, although they've upgraded and added some attractions to it, so like slides and that. This is what they call the mall. This is just the general walkways through the park, amongst the attractions and the concession stands and the refreshment stands. Idlewild Park, and it is it's a very cool park, and it is a lot of trees and shrubbery. It's not, pavement out in the sun. There are a lot of shady places. They kind of retain the country atmosphere of the park, and that's still true today. It's a very comfortable, pleasant place to go rather than some parks, which are just nothing but a hot asphalt. Here's just a scene of people get moving around in the park. This over here is a concession stand or refreshment stand of some kind. From the people's dress, looks like probably, again, 1930s, maybe early 40s. Here is a scene on the lake. Idlewild Park does have a lake, and boating is a popular thing. You can rent canoes and go out on the water, paddle boats. This is a clown who's riding one of the horses on the merry-go-round. I guess at one time I've never seen them, but they had clowns dressed who would go around and mill around in the crowd and entertain people, especially the children. And here's a shot of the picnic shelter. Idlewild Park has a very large picnic area with shelters and picnic tables and pavilions, and it's often in the summertime. It's a place where companies have their company picnics and events and are held because they have really nice accommodations for that kind of thing. So I guess that's about it for Idlewild Park. That's just a small part of my Lincoln Highway collection. I'm going to hope to show you some more in the future. So I guess that's it for this week at Mark Lemons Postcards. On behalf of Ellie and Lucy and myself, we want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.